So last week we had started with a new module which was image compression. So let's continue further. So the name of the module is image and audio compression. So we'll start with the first part, which is image compression. So we had already covered in the first part of the module that regarding discrete cosine transform, abbreviated as DCT. So since it's been a while since we have covered this, so I'll just recapitulate what we have done. We initially started with a simple example of this image. So if you have a HD image, its resolution is 1280 by 720, px stands for pixels. If you have a full HD, it is what, 1920 by 1080 pixels. And we also took example of a 4K image, so it was 3840 by 2160 pixels. And we said that 8K is usually not used because further going from 4K there is not much improvement in the quality. So then we said modern computers employ graphics extensively, as a result of which the images are important but they tend to be big. And we took, using calculators, we calculated a 512 by 512 image that it requires 7,86,432 bytes of space, right? So we also used examples of 4K and full HD images, which are usually is the pixel amount in videos for YouTube, and we found that they are very high. That is the size or the space occupied them is very high. So video processing applications require large storage and channel speeds for transmission. So what is important? Compression is very important for storing and transmitting data. We also stressed on the fact that why we are talking about transmitting data, because if we are storing a 10 GB file, we have to transfer that 10 GB. So if the same file is compressed to, for example, 3 GB, we have to transfer only 3 GB. So that's why we are talking about storing as well as transmitting. So that is our aim. So then we started with DCT. So DCT is what? It is a transform. So first thing we address is why we use transforms. So you have used Fourier transforms, Laplace transforms in your previous years. So why are they important? We take a simple example of a sinusoidal signal. So if I take a Fourier transform of this signal, what I get is this signal. So if you see, this signal is a continuous in time. So it is having value at each and every instant of time. But the moment I go to Fourier transform, that is frequency domain, I have only two instances at minus W and plus W. So if you want to work on this signal, it is very simple to work in this domain. But since we understand time domain, for that what we have the inverse Fourier transform. So in the same way, we have discrete cosine transform DCT and its inverse, which is called as inverse discrete cosine transform DCT. And where is it used? It is used in JPEG and MPEG. So the discussion of today's lecture is mainly JPEG. So this was the formulas for DCT. So why is DCT important? For image compression and concentration of energy, and most coefficients are zeros. That is, we don't have to transmit them. So that is one of the important aspects of DCT. Another fact we discussed was it only aids in compression. It is not a compression technique. DCT only aids in compression. How we achieve DCT? How we achieve compression? Using quantization. So DCTQ is actually what helps in the compression. So early coefficients are quantized finely and later coarsely. So why we had discussed last time, and the early coefficients, since they are quantized finely, they are divided by a small number, and if they are quantized coarsely, they are divided by bigger numbers. So quantization is nothing but approximation. So then we had said that DCTQ examples we had started. So for correlated data, DCTQ is very good. So this is original data is correlated. So we had said there is a difference of 2 only here. Along the diagonal it is same. Again there is a difference of 1 or 2 only here. Not much difference between the data. So you see 8, 10, 12 and 11 are the numbers only occurring here. So this is correlated data. So applying the formula, we get DCT coefficients. Which formula we apply? We apply this DCT formula. This is which formula? IDCT formula. And one important thing, it is a two-dimensional formula. Why? Because images are 2D dimensions, that is two-dimension data. So if I use that formula, I get these coefficients, DCT coefficients, and it is used for 8 by 8 blocks. So these are my DCT coefficients. Then I use a quantization table. It is a standard table given in literature. So if I use quantization table, I get DCTQ coefficient. These are quantized values. So if you observe, a very high value is only at the first element. So this is called as the DC value or average value. It contains most of the information. And you observe all the rest of the values are 0. So if I use this DCTQ and apply it to IDCT, which is this formula, what will I get is this reconstructed data. So if you observe, this is approximately same 12 and 12.29, 11 and 10.9, 7, 8 and 7.83. But if you, so this was a correlated data image. If you decompress it, it is almost same. You are not able to tell which is the original and which is the compressed image. So there is less loss of data. But if you take a uncorrelated or random data, so you see what is happening here. It is increasing by 2, then decreasing by 1, then increasing by 2, then not increasing. Along the diagonal also the numbers are changing. So this is random data. So if you again apply DCT formula, you get this. And when you quantize it, what you get? Again 79 and many numbers. If you observe the previous thing, there were many zeros. But here there are less zeros. So you have to transfer more data. So less compression. And if you reconstruct the data, what is happening? You are getting a huge difference. Now you see, this is 8, this is 7.59. Now some might say this is approximately equal. But if you see, for 12 and 12.29, the difference is less. For 8 and 7.59, the difference is high. Similarly, 11 and 12.09, more than a difference of 1, which is never the case here. It is difference 10.1 only. Here difference is 0.17. So this is not a good reconstruction of data. So uncorrelated data, DCTQ fails. That is what we understood last time. So this is a uncorrelated data. If you compress it, you get this. So you are getting a bad reconstruction of data. So this is what we discussed last time. That was DCT, discrete cosine transform, and if you are saying DCTQ, it is discrete cosine transform quantization. So next topic is JPEG. So many of you, or in fact every one of us, uses JPEG. What does it stand for? It is Joint Photographic Experts Group. So it stands for Joint Photographic Experts Group, and it was a standard given by ISO, International Standards Organization. So what is it? It is a lossy, and very less people know that it is a lossless compression also if tuned in that manner according to the algorithm. So it is a lossy, lossless compression algorithm for color as well as grayscale still images. And very important thing, it is not applicable for black and white images. Now some of the students might have a doubt that what is the difference between black and white and grayscale images. So black and white has only 2 pixels. Either it is 1 or 0. That is, it will be either black or white. For example, if I assign 1 as black and 0 as white, it will be only 1 and 0 everywhere in the image. But if it is grayscale, it has a value of 0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. That is black, then light black, then lighter black, and so on. So from this you go to the various shades of gray. So that is why it is grayscale image. So you can just search in Google for a grayscale image. So let's do that in fact. So let's see a grayscale image example. So these are all grayscale images, right? You are not seeing just a black and white color, that's it. So these are grayscale images. So this is what black and white. So you see, this is only black and white. So this is what a black and white image, right? So this is the difference between black and white. So I hope you understood what is the difference there. So again, JPEG stands for Joint Photographic Expert Group. It is a lossy or lossless compression algorithm for color or grayscale still images, not applicable for black and white images. That is, JPEG is not applicable for black and white images. And it works based on continuous tone images. So again, what are continuous tone images? This is an example of continuous tone images where the color doesn't change drastically, it changes very slowly. So that is what happens in a grayscale image also, right? And this is what a black and white image, either you have black or you have 0. So this was a discrete tone image. So this is not good for DCT, and since it is not good for DCT, it is not good for JPEG also. Why? You might say, because JPEG again uses DCT only. So that we'll see further in the further slides. And what is the other thing about JPEG? It uses many parameters allowing the user to adjust the amount of the data lost. Means you can change the how much compression you want. That is, you have the liberty to adjust the compression ratio. So you want 50% compression, 20% compression. That is what you can change in the algorithm. So that is one of the good things about JPEG. and it is extensively used in web pages. So you see many websites, almost all the websites will be using JPEG. Why? Because it is highly compressed. So then what are the goals of JPEG? Means why was JPEG introduced as a photo compression algorithm? So the first thing it was introduced was, in those days it was there was not a good, I am talking about in 1990s, there was not a good compression technique for images. So for storing and transmitting data it was very difficult, because it used to take a large amount of space, and since you needed to transmit it, it used to take a huge amount of time. So it was required to have a technique which has a high compression ratio. So that was the very first goal, to have a JPEG. So then what is the next goal was, it is use of many parameters. Now what does this mean? It means that if we have a knowledgeable user or an expert user, again he has the liberty to change the compression ratio. So that is the use of many parameters. So apart from the compression ratio, we can change many other parameters which will alter the compression ratio. So that is the meaning of many parameters. So then we say obtaining good results with any kind of continuous image. That is continuous tone image only we are talking about. So the goal is to obtain good results with a continuous image. Then we want a sophisticated but not too complex compression method. Why? Because we want to allow the software and hardware implementations on many platforms. Means, for example, JPEG should be supported in Windows as well as Apple software, and that is what we mean by many software and hardware platforms. So what are the modes of operation of JPEG that we study in this slide? So there are 4 modes of operation: sequential, progressive, lossless and hierarchical. So what is sequential? Each image component, that is nothing but color. We saw there are 3 colors, R, G and B, of 24 bits. So each color is of 8 bits, that we saw in the last lecture. So each image component, that is each color, is compressed in a single left to right, top to bottom scan. So what we mean by left to right, top to bottom scan is nothing but raster scan. So if you have studied TV and video engineering subject, I am not aware whether you have studied it. So there you have studied raster scan. So let's see what is the meaning of raster scan. So let's go to images. This is a good image. So this is the example of raster scan. Raster scan means what again? Left to right, here it is, left to right, top to bottom scan. So I start from the top left, extreme top left, I go to the right, scan all the values, then I go downwards and again to the left. So I am always going left to right. I am scanning left to right. While I am coming here, this red part in 2, I am not scanning. I am only scanning from left to right, and I am going from top to bottom. So this is what raster scan, or left to right, top to bottom. So then this is about what? Sequential. So then we have progressive mode of operation. What happens here is, this is usually used in JPEG technique, and we will take the example of this only. So image is compressed in multiple blocks known as scans to be viewed from coarse to fine detail. Now if you have attended the last lecture, we have talked about discrete cosine transform. So what was it? We were talking about coarse quantization and fine quantization. So this is what is used in progressive scanning. So this is where we will use DCT, and that is the reason we said in the last lecture, and we took the example of this. If you calculate this, how many numbers are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So horizontal 8, vertical 8. So this is a 8 by 8 block of data. So DCT always requires a 8 by 8 block of data. So that is the reason in progressive scan we compress it in multiple blocks, usually of 8 by 8. So then we have a lossless technique. So as we saw in the introduction, it is a lossy, and very less people know it can also be a lossless compression algorithm. So if it is lossless, it is important in cases where the user decides that no pixel should be lost. But what is the disadvantage? It will result in low compression ratio. That is, if the file is of 1 MB, we will have a compressed file of, let's say, 0.92 MB only. So there is only 0.08 MB compression. So next final mode of operation is hierarchical. So what does it tell? Its image is compressed at multiple resolutions, allowing lower resolution blocks to be viewed without first having to decompress the following higher resolution blocks. For example, you can take the example of zoom in and zoom out. If I zoom out, this becomes high resolution. If I zoom in, what does this become? Low resolution. So this is what is hierarchical mode. So this is just an example, remember. So next, very important question from exam point of view is state the JPEG compression and decompression steps, or how is the JPEG image compressed. So this is the answer to that question. So very important, this is not in answer form, this is in PPT form. That is, I have just noted down the main points, but you have to elaborate them in your exam. So make sure you refer the relevant reference books which are at the end of references for this. Don't just write this in the exam. It is not a good practice. So there are 7 steps. So the first step is this. So this is the collectively number 1 step. This is not as in step 1, step 2, step 3. This whole slide is step 1. So what happens? Let's take the example of color image. So what we do for color images are transformed from RGB into a luminance or chrominance color step, and this step is kept for grayscale images. So what is done? Color images, as we have seen in DCT lecture, that each image is 2D in nature and it has 3 colors mainly, red, green and blue, and each color is of 8 bits, so total bits are 24. So we transform that RGB into a luminance or chrominance color space. So then what we do, we know that eye is sensitive to small changes in luminance but not in chrominance. So the chrominance part can later lose much data. Again, eye is sensitive to small changes in luminance. That is, luminance part is very important for our eye to decode. So what we do, we don't compress the luminance part much. That is, we don't try to lose the data in luminance, but we can compress a huge amount of chrominance color space. So that is what is written here. So the chrominance part can later lose much data. What this results in? It results in high compression and without visually impairing the overall image quality much. Why doesn't it again visually impair the overall image quality? Because we are compressing only the chrominance part mainly in the first step. Again, this step is kept for grayscale images. So then we go to step 2. So what is step 2 tell us? The color images are downsampled by creating low resolution pixels from the original ones. Now what is downsampling? You have studied, might have studied in digital signal processing. So I think it is there in your subject now, so you will study there, so I will not go into that details. So we downsample by creating the low resolution pixels from the original ones. Then the downsampling is not done again for luminance component. Why? Because eye is very sensitive to even small changes in luminance. That is the reason we don't touch the luminance component. Then downsampling is done either at a ratio of 2:1 both horizontally and vertically. Now again we have, if we have the numbers are 8 by 8 type, so we have a horizontal way and a vertical way. So for both changes we use 2:1 ratio. Otherwise we use 2:1 ratio horizontally and 1:1 vertically. And this is done for only 2 of 3 color components, because we don't want to lose all the data, so we keep one data as it is. We approximate only 2 of the color components. So 2:1 reduces the image to what? 1/3. 1/3 is same. Why? Because we are changing 2/3 of the image. So 1/3 is same, so we keep 1/3 as it is. What we do through the remaining third? We are changing horizontally as well as vertically, right? So 2:1 plus 2:1. So what is it? 4:1. And since it is a ratio, we take the inverse of it. So 2/3 of 1:4. So if you calculate this, it makes the image half of its original size. While if we take 2h and 1v is nothing but 2 and this 1. So 2 horizontal 2h, 1 vertical 2h, 1v. So it reduces to, similarly if you calculate, we will get 1/3 plus 2/3 of half, which is 2/3 of original size. So this compresses by 66%, this compresses by 55%. So if you use 2:1 horizontally and 1:1 vertically, you get higher compression. That is what this means. Now since the luminant component is not touched, there is no noticeable loss of image quality. So we have already discussed this. Again, this step is used only when hierarchical compression is selected. It is always kept for grayscale images. So what we learn, the first 2 steps are not applicable for grayscale images but only for color images. Next, The pixels of each color component are organized in groups of 8 by 8 pixels called data units. Now this is very important. Why we use 8 by 8 pixels only? Because we are further going to use DCT, and DCT is what used in 2 dimensions. So it requires 2 dimensions, and for that reason we use 8 by 8. So in the example also we have used 8 by 8 because we are using DCT. So let's go to the slide back. So again, the pixels of each color component are organized in groups of 8 by 8 pixels called data units, and each data unit is compressed separately. So if you are not understanding this, we'll take an example, you will understand it then. So if the number of image rows or columns is not a multiple of 8, now this might happen in the case that you cannot divide the image into multiples of 8. Then what we do? The bottom row and the rightmost column. Again, the bottom row, that is the last row, and the last column are duplicated as many times as necessary till we get a multiple of it. So that is what this last point means. Then we come to step 4. Then we apply DCT. The DCT is then applied to each data unit to create 8 by 8 map of frequency components. That is, we find the DCT coefficients. That is, we are using this step. So we are done with, after dividing the into 8 by 8 blocks, we are in the original data. Then after applying DCT, we get the DCT coefficients. Next is what? Quantization. So then before going to quantization, that will be in step 5. What is further given? Since DCT formula involves cosine function, so if you observe the formula of DCT, it involves what? It involves cosine function. Now what does cos theta lie between? It lies between -1 and 1. So it can take all the values between -1 and 1. So there is a question of precision. So how much decimal places you want to take? So that depends on computer, right? So that is a problem. So what problem it creates? Since DCT formula involves cosine function, it must involve some loss of information due to the limited precision of computer arithmetic, right? So because it involves up to some decimal places only we can consider. So further decimal places are ignored. So there is where loss of information comes in, right? This means that even without the main lossy step, that is without applying quantization, which we will apply in the last step, there will be some loss of image quality, but it is normally very small. Remember, this loss is not due to compression, it is due to limited precision of computer arithmetic. It might be a very good Viva question. So next step we apply quantization. So now step 4 we can say call it as DCT. Now step 5 is what? DCT-Q. So each of the 64. Why 64? Because it is 8 by 8. So we get 64 coefficients. 64 frequency components in a data unit is divided by separate number called quantization coefficient and then rounded to an integer. Now since we are getting decimal numbers, so that is floating point numbers, so we will round it to some integer. So this is where information is now actually lost, and this is where compression will come. So large QCs cause more loss. So the high frequency components typically have larger QCs. So this is what we saw in DCT. So each of the 64 QCs is a JPEG parameter and can in principle be specified by the user. What does this mean? That is this quantization coefficients. QC stands for quantization coefficient. There is a quantization table which I talked about in the last lecture. So it can be taken by the user, or it can be taken from the JPEG group which has given a standard table. So that is what the last step tells us. However, most JPEG implementations use the QC tables recommended by the JPEG standard for the luminance and chrominance image components, so that which are provided by the JPEG group. So then sixth step, the 64 quantized frequency coefficients which are now integers. Why integers? Because we have rounded them. Of each data unit are encoded using a combination of RLE, that is run length encoding, and Huffman code. So use the Huffman coding which we studied in the previous module for encoding purpose. We can also use arithmetic coding, which is also known as QM coder. Now remember, it is not exact arithmetic coding, it is a different form of arithmetic coding or arithmetic coding variant known as QM coder. It can also be used as an alternative. So finally what we do, the last step adds headers and all the required JPEG parameters and outputs the results, which is what usually done in any technique. So then once we are compressed, we decompress it. So how we decompress it? JPEG decoder performs the exact reverse step. So it goes from step 7 to step 1. Thus JPEG is what? A symmetric compression method. That is, it uses the same steps in reverse which are used for compression. That is what we mean by symmetric compression method. So then example of JPEG compression. So what is the example? Let's take an example of 1024 by 512 image. So again, what is the first step? So let's assume this is a color image. So we'll skip step 1 and 2. So we'll directly start with step 3. So what does step 3 tell? Divide it into 8 by 8 pixels, so which are called data units. So we want to divide it into 8 by 8 pixels. So 1024 we divide it into factor of 8. Similarly 512 we divide into factor of 8. What we get? 64 by 8 and 8 by 120. So if we multiply 1024 and 512, you will get 524 288 pixels. And you divide this number by 64, what you will get is 8192. So 8192 data units will have of each blocks of 8 by 8. So 8 by 8, this is the first block, then second block, and then final block is 8192 here. So this is the second step. So next what we do is start with the scanning. So how can we take? We can have two scan methods. We can go vertically, which is this. So this is 0 first scan, then the second scan. We have already scanned the first, so we have 0 also there. Then we take the second, then the third, and so on. Otherwise what we can do, we can take the first scan as the first row. Then what we do is, we take only the first four significant digits in the second scan. Then we take the third significant digit, then second in the fourth scan, first in the fifth scan, and finally 0th in the sixth scan. So this is the way, this is the example of JPEG compression. So this is where your answer should end for JPEG compression techniques. Okay. So next topic is JPEG LS, and further we have JPEG 2000. So that we'll cover in the next lecture.